It is fun every single year, and yes, I'm referring to the UDFA or undrafted free agent classes for all 32 NFL teams, but today we're specifically talking about the UDFA class for the Las Vegas Raiders, and yes, I understand that, there's going to be some guys that you really don't know here, will join the club, but really there's some guys that, you need to know, and we're going to shine a light on all of the signings for the Raiders. There might be a couple more between now and last Saturday, but I believe I've got it up to date. If not, let me know if I missed anybody, but I really think this UDFA class for the Raiders is going to be interesting. It's going to be pretty fun. So today we're going to touch on it. It starts out with tackle Dalton Wagner coming up out of Arkansas. I know it's Arkansas, but Darsha, if you're watching, I had to give it to you a little bit, mess with you. So in 2022, Wagner was one of those guys that 6'8", 320, love his size, a little bit slow in and out of his stances. You do kind of wonder what his athleticism and how that's going to transition into the NFL, but he's a dude. Like, honestly, if he can kind of work on some technical things there with his natural size, with his natural arm length, that can mask a lot of issues he may have in terms of getting out of his stance. But last year for Arkansas, he came in and played a total of 902 snaps, allowed a couple of sacks as well as 4 quarterback hits and 15 hurries, but he did have an 80.5 PFF grade. He is a pass blocker. Like, let's be real about it. In the run game, he's not bad. I think he has the potential to be a road grader, especially if he latches on and gets onto a body, but overall he is a he's a pass rush specialist in terms of pass blocking, if that makes any sense. So Dalton Wagner, I think if you can have him sit behind Jermaine Illuminar for a year, just see what he can do, see what he can learn, I think you can bring him into camp this year and next year and see what he can do just to compete. Like, that's literally what you bring these guys in for. They're guys that, again, there's something going on, whether it's injury related, whether it's transfer related, like didn't get a lot of time in playing college, whatever it is. They're just really not guys that didn't get drafted, but they got a shot on the 90, maybe to get on the 53, most likely on the practice squad. So I think you can bring him in for a year, maybe have him sit on the practice squad, worst case, and he learns behind Jermaine Illuminar, who's pretty, I think he's going to be a great teacher for him. Then safety corner Jaden Grant coming up out of Oregon State here. I'm really excited about him. 64 total tackles last year, 4.5 tackles for loss, a sack, 3 picks. Also had a 79.8 PFF coverage grade. So Jaden Grant, I really like his physicality and some of his traits. I think he's got a chance to be a starter, or a 4 or 5 safety coming up out of Oregon State. So again, I think it's the Beavers if I remember correctly, but he's a guy that quite honestly most likely going to be a special teamer, as are a lot of these guys, but I do think there's something there to work with. Yes, you brought in Marcus Epps as well as you drafted Christopher Smith the second out of Georgia. You're excited about a lot of these guys, but it never hurts to have a guy that can come in and play special teams and get on the bus, so or at least the plane, whatever it is in the NFL. So Jaden Grant, excited about him. We're going to see what he does overall in camp as well. Like I said, he mostly a hard-hitting guy as well as pretty good in coverage, and so he kind of is a nice little bow there if you want to wrap up the safety room for the Raiders. The defensive back / corner Azizi Hearn out of Washington, also spent some time at UC Davis, but last year for Washington, 40 tackles, 7 passes defensed, and I put 37 tackles. I was probably referring to Jordan Perryman there. I apologize, but also did have a pretty good year there. I accidentally put some of the stats in there for Jordan Perryman, so I apologize. But overall, you guys get the point. Not necessarily between him and Perryman, a couple of corners there, not exactly guys that are going to come up and kill it, and I think I talked about UC Davis being the thing for Hearn here. It was mainly Perriman. I'm just going to talk about these two guys all together. Nice job, Colton. I nailed it. But anyway, so these two guys, I like their speed. I like their length. Not necessarily ball hawks. I don't think either one of them, if I remember correctly, I think it was Perriman that literally did not have an interception in college, which isn't great, but overall you are still excited about these guys. Bringing in a couple of camp bodies that are going to be gunners on the punt team, or maybe going to help out on the return game as well. So you don't really worry about it that much, but you bring in these camp bodies just to see guys that have the traits. What can you do with coaching and see what you can do with to develop them? So I'm really not that worried about it. These two guys going to come in and compete in camp. You absolutely love it with the DB room that needs the competition. That's right, I said it. So and then getting offensive guard / tackle McClendon Curtis out of Chattanooga here. Love this one. Like, honestly, between Wagner and McClendon Curtis here, could be both starters, like down the road. I do absolutely believe that. 730 snaps last year, Curtis had for Chattanooga. No sacks, had 5 quarterback hits and 2 hurries, but had an 83.3 PFF grade. Spent a little bit of time playing guard and tackle, mainly left tackle and right guard, I believe. But one of those guys that he is very versatile. He showed out at the Senior Bowl, and he's going to be a lot of fun for some people to watch out for. Again, I think he could be a guy that that either if you put him at right guard or if you want to try him out at right tackle or be a backup left tackle, fantastic value here. He was projected to go in the 5th to 6th rounds, but you get him here as a UDFA. I love it. And yes, he's going to get a shot to compete and show what he can do in the preseason and camp and whatnot. So I really do love the pick here, or love the signing, excuse me. And then edge, Brock Martin out of Oklahoma State. Love it. Was a guy 43 tackles, 12.5 tackles for loss, 3.5 sacks for Oklahoma State last year. Was a guy that, you like his size, you like his speed, and some of his technical refinement abilities in terms of like his hand usage and all that. But you really do want to see how that transitions to the NFL with better competition, bigger tackles, and you really want to see if he can in fact bring that extra spark in the pass rush game for the Raiders. But I do really like the value here. Obviously he was going to most likely be a UDFA anyway, but hey, this is what camp and UDFA signings are for. Bring in these guys that can produce a little bit, and they got the size, the speed, the length, all of that kind of stuff that they can just come in and compete, and you can go from there. Linebacker Drake Thomas. I am so excited about Drake Thomas. Like 101 tackles last year for NC State, 7.5 sacks, as well as 19 tackles for loss, and a 63.8 PFF coverage grade. Now, the thing with Drake Thomas is he just flies around. Like he's just a heat-seeking missile. He reminds me a lot of Brian Asamoah, the Vikings linebacker that they selected last year in the 3rd round. Now, that might be a little bit nice in terms of that might be a little bit of a rosy outlook for Drake Thomas. But Drake Thomas is a guy that he's a little smaller in stature. That 5'10", 5'9" to a 6 foot range. Not that tall, but he just runs. Like every single play is his last. You really like his energy. He's a leader on the field, on and off that is, or he was there for NC State. And I think it's going to transition over to the Raiders because, again, I do think you need a guy in there that, might not necessarily be the most talented, but just every single snap, people gravitate towards him, and that is exactly what Drake Thomas is. Might have a little bit of toughness, or might have a tough time, guarding running backs out of the backfield, but Drake Thomas overall is going to be a linebacker that you're going to be really excited to have in your room. Just a really good guy to have around, as well as you also got George Tarlas, the edge player coming up out of Boise State. I'm really excited for Tarlas here. 31 total tackles, 6.5 tackles for loss and 4 sacks. Did bounce around a little bit between some schools, but overall ended up at Boise State as his kind of his like red shirt, or not even red shirt, but like his 5th year, the senior year there for the Broncos. But I'm really excited about Tarlas here. There's a lot of things you really like in terms of his size, his ability to get around the edge and set an edge in the run game. So I think he's going to be a guy that could be a playmaker for the Raiders, or at least if he gets a roster spot, or maybe just comes on as a practice squad guy. You really just got to see what you got in him. Can you really coach him up and see what you can get? I think it makes a lot of sense. And then finally, edge player Adam Plant Jr. This guy could legitimately make the 53 too. Like he's got a lot of the things you look for, size, speed, strength, all that kind of stuff. You do want him to maybe, and that's the thing, is he could make the roster this year, but it wouldn't shock me. And the most likely scenario is yes, he's probably going to be a guy that you bring on the practice squad, but that's fine. 62 tackles last year, 13.5 tackles for loss, 8 sacks. Mainly is a guy that, yes, does need to add a little bit of oomph in his legs, need to add a little bit of weight, and he can do it too because he's got the speed, some speed to spare and stuff. So if you want to add a little bit of oomph to him, get him onto an NFL training program, that's fine with me. I think, give him a year and he at least could come off the bench and really give you a spark in the pass rush game. But that is it. That's where we take a look at the Las Vegas Raiders 2023 UDFA signings. Let us know what you guys think. Again, between Wagner, Curtis, I think that also Drake Thomas, Adam Plant. There's 4 or 5 guys in this class that could be starters, or at least when I say starters, I'm probably getting a little rosy out there. I'll be honest. I would say that there's probably a couple of starters in here potentially. Mainly these guys are going to play special teams, but also are going to kind of light a little bit of a fire and create some competition in camp, which is exactly what you want them to do. So I'm excited about this class. Let us know what you guys think though. Make sure you guys like and subscribe down below. Leave a like and a comment. It helps people find the show. We really appreciate all of your guys' love and support. You guys are all truthfully awesome. We love every single one of you. Down in the description below, you'll find all of our social media platforms. So give us a like and a follow there. Also remember to give us a listen and sub on iTunes. And finally, if you have anything else you'd like us to cover, send us an email at thesportsbp@yahoo.com or put it in the comment section down below, and we would love to cover it. But let us know what you guys think about us taking a look at the Las Vegas Raiders 2023 UDFA signings.